Thanks a lot, sir. I would just like to share some of my experiences in the last 11 years of my journey from being a student at IIT Kharagpur. In 1999, we just had dumb terminals and 40 systems in the Central Information Computer System, which we used to call CIC. During the Golden Jubilee, we got HCL computers gifted to us by the IIT alumni on a subsidized rate. It came with Windows 98. Now, Windows 98 used to crash so often that all the students, they removed the Windows partition altogether and took on Linux. And all the Word applications and all, we were using K-Word and all that stuff. But then, it came Microsoft XP. Now, when the XP version came, the die-hard FOSS activists, the die-hard geeks, they removed the Linux partition altogether. They kept a dual boot, but after that, the dual boot also got removed. And everyone started working on the Windows XP because the movie player did not crash in that, and the other applications, the gaming experience was good. Moving further, I went to my summer internship. I chose to go to Gita Press Gorakhpur, which happens to be one of the biggest publishers of religious books in India. Gita Press is a typical problem of digitizing 400 books they had in composed format. They wanted to convert into digital format. Now, there was no existing OCR available at that point of time, way back in 2002. We got hold of an open source OCR called Clara OCR, and we said, why not duke it altogether? If it can recognize an A, why cannot it recognize an A? We were close to our success, but then what we found at the end of the project that since the source had a lot of noise, so the project had to be shelled out. But the moral of the story is we had got open source software to tweak into its code. We could innovate over there. When we talk about free, it's the freedom to innovate. I can play around with it even without contacting the owner of it. It gives me the freedom of it. At that point of time, we also tried to invent an enterprise ERP software for the press. At that point, if we would have the press, if it would have taken a SAP solution, it was beyond its budget. We implemented a NUI. We provided an I-18 support over there. So that's the power which open source software gave to us phenomenally. Now, going a bit further, when I graduated from Kharagpur, I chose to work in the developmental sector in Braj. Now, at one end, we were fighting a problem of rampant mining going over there. So we wanted to do a time sequential study as to how the heritage hills of Braj are being mined. And while the government of Rajasthan, they were saying that there is no mining going on. Now, in order to prove it, we allied with IIT Roorkee's Department of Earth Sciences. But they had all the licensed and proprietary softwares like ARC, Geosystems and all, but they said, we don't have the data. The relevant satellite imagery of that region on which we can process upon. We have the students, we have the research scholars. It's an exciting project, good enough to become a MTech dissertation and later on to a PhD dissertation also. We tried hard with the National Remote Sensing Agency, and they had recently launched resource at Cartosat satellites. They said, no, we cannot give you the satellite images for even for a developmental purpose. So another challenge came was also the access of the data for processing. Later on, we procured it across, and we used it for our processing and filed a PIL in the Supreme Court. Now, later on, we struggled hard to create a geographical information system for the entire region, to map the various sacred water bodies, the sacred groves, the various elements. We were struggling hard to develop that. But whenever we approached a vendor, they said the quotation was quite high, but we were doing a lot of grounding exercises. But then thanks to Google Earth, it came well in time. It is a kind of an open source application where I can have my .kml file separate, the data separate from the application altogether. And through that, we could develop a very comprehensive GIS system of the entire region. Bottom line, what I want to make is that since technology is evolving, many things which were free at once are becoming paid. Like Google Apps, initial the subscription was 50 accounts were complimentary, now they are giving only 10. After that, you have to take the premium ones. And many of the services are going free. Lot of apps at a throwaway prices are coming across. So it's a long drawn evolution of technology and its usage. One last point I would like to make that it's a question more of access of the appropriate technology. There are two challenges. One is a challenge of information gap and the other is of the finance. Now, the other aspect, technological decisions, when it's in such a dynamic phase, it's a very, very intricate process. Now, we have to also identify the stakeholders to take decisions closer on the ground, what technological platform to adopt and what not to do it. In that case, we had a very successful experiment in involving the engineering graduates spread all across the country in developmental initiatives, because they are the ones, if they get into it, they get a feel of lot of technology available, they will get a bigger educational experience. On the other hand side, the developmental framework, the developmental ecosystem will get their technical expertise to have a right technical mix. We just cannot rely either on a FOSS-based system or only on a proprietary-based system. Adequate technology mix is probably, I think, a judicious, a balanced decision which is on the cards. Thank you.